By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh, yeah.
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai. I'm one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Our address is 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn. Thanking the Creator of heaven and earth for all things and everything, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We're grateful to the Most High God for being King, and we understand that He is the only God and the only King, and unto Him and Him alone do we give glory. Thanking you all for tuning in with us. We pray for the life and the well-being of all of you that are out there today listening. I wish everyone an early Shabbat Shalom. I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth be with each and every one of you. Everyone that's out there that might be going through something, anyone that's ailing, praying that the Most High God be with you all, that He will protect you, that He will heal you, that the Most High God will shower you with blessings, and that He will guide each and every one of us. So I'm thankful to the Creator once again, and I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth continue to bless us all. Giving due respect and acknowledgement to the leader of our congregation, even my brother, Chief Prince Jeriel Ben Yissaschar, praying for his life and the life of his family, praying that the Most High God be with them and bless them. I'm thankful to the Most High for life. And we're going to go through another Torah review. We're going through Psalm 68. And to take us through that, I will pass the mic over to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great production. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the Supreme Intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and due respect to the platform more on the D.C.B channel platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Miriam and Aaron, the whole Chief Uzael, to the Prince's Chief, Corny, Rabbinette, Maureen, brothers and sisters, greet you in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom. We'll be covering a sidra that's called Bet Haolah, Bet Haolah Theka, which just means, enlightening or lighting or raising up the lights by the fire on a menorah. It will be covering the chapters of the book of Numbers from the 8th chapter, first verse, and we'll go to the 12th chapter, 16th verse. Also, the Haftorah that goes along with it, for those that might want to study it extensively, the Haftorah that ties into that, which would be in Zechariah, the 2nd chapter, the 14th verse, going to the 4th chapter, 7th verse. The Psalm, as Chief Uzael has spoken on, will be Psalm 68. One, I like to bring up some points and read the opening parts of Bet Haolah Theka. And it's in the 8th chapter, the first verse. It goes a little like this. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron, and say unto him, When thou lightest the lamp, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the candlestick. Now, when we first open up and look at this here, if it's 7 parts, it's 7 sticks, flames on there, 7 wicks, 7 capitals that actually takes the oil, fine olive oil. So it seems like if it's made of 7, and we told the description of the menorah already, then why is it saying that seem like information when you light it, then it say that it lights the lamp, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the candlestick. Shouldn't, when you light a candle, it should give off light? That's something to consider. That's an obvious question. So why word it? And if Aharon is the Kohen, and he was training for 7 days before he began to officiate, shouldn't he know that? And also, this he prepares it in the evening, and then in the daytime he would light it. And it seems that you would light it at night, prepare it, and prepare it in the morning. But those are some of the things to think about. But we just read about the offerings of the princes from the 12 tribes of Israel. Each prince brought the exact same offering, but it meant something different to each and every prince of the tribes. Those that would study a little bit more into that area could find some of the comments in reference to how the one tribe viewed their offerings as opposed to the next tribe. But they all brought the exact same thing. And then what's interesting, when they was bringing offering, when they also brought 2 princes per tribe, and it doesn't even say which prince for the tribe, when they brought the offerings on their particular day, each one had their particular day. But when they brought the wagons and the oxen, 2 princes per tribe, which means 6 wagons, and several and 12 oxen, then you will say, okay, then what prince was working together to bring this particular wagon and this pair of oxen? We don't get that information, but yet we got all that information in reference to them offering up on their day, and also the items they offer up most extensively in the last century. Only tribe was not privy to offer anything was the tribe of Levi at the dedication of the altar. And yet, some of the mixtures within the bowls of the incense was something that you couldn't duplicate and you shouldn't have in your possession, yet it was a one-time thing for the dedication of the altar. So it was a really unique experience for each one of the princes, for each one of the tribes, and God chose their days, as I spoken on earlier, which tribe will offer up on that particular day. Now, when we go into this particular portion here, we're talking about Aaron and his job. So, whereas his job, the responsibility is to not only light the menorah, but kindle a flame within himself to light it. And he had to do this every single day. So it's to teach you, so it'll be a routine, or as we say, by rote, in the sense that I do this here so often, I don't have to think about it. When you pray every day, you must each day try to get more enthused than you was in the previous day when you pray. Even if you use the same words, even if you use the same opening, you must pray every day. That's why all the time I like to say, Adonai Sakhaji Dakufiya Vichida There, the Lord opened down my lips, my mouth should declare that praise. Because you should always feel that kind of enthusiasm of saying, I got a chance to address my Creator. Sometimes we don't take that and feel that same type of zeal. Some of us, when we first learn certain things in the scriptures, we'd be excited. Then after we read a little while, then the excitement tend to die down for most people. But on the contrary, the excitement should go stronger and stronger and stronger. It's a buildup. When you ate your meal yesterday, and no matter how good the meal was, you're looking forward to eating again the next day. And when you eat the next day, no matter how good that meal was, you're looking more enthused to eat the following day. So the thing is that you don't let that fire die out. So now, since it's so routine, And this is what Aaron had to do. He had first must kindle a fire within himself. He got to feel like, I'm not only lighting that light, but I'm lighting the light within me. And the seven candlesticks also represent seven different type of characteristics in the individual. Those that was counting the Omer, like I said earlier in the dissertation, mentioned all those different attributes. Some like, Nasik, Malkut, um, uh, Hold, uh, you know, and so those type of things that the seven are those supposed to represent the seven type of aspects and characteristics of every human being, the whole nation of Israel. That's one thing, looking at the menorah. And then the menorah burned inside and it burned outside. So it's unique. And then out of all the articles that we told to build, we do not know the actual, we find out pretty much um, somewhat the gold, some certain things that's used in the menorah. We know it's made out of pure gold, but we're not exactly sure of the exact size of the menorah. We're sure the size of the table of the table that was in the tabernacle. We're sure of that size. We're sure of the altar of incense. We're sure of the size of the brazen altar. We're sure of the Ark of the Covenant, the size that was. We're even sure about the tabernacle. But we're not sure what was the size of the menorah that was built. All we're told but how it should be designed and what it should be made of. And then its function, who's supposed to deal with the menorah and whose function it was to deal with and make sure it burned. And this is coming straight from the Creator through Moses to his brother Aaron. So that's one of the things that we learn from it. So though it speaks on there and with such patterns, then we goes into the next section of the book of Numbers. In the next section of the book of Numbers, it talks about the consecration of the Levites. And in the 5th verse it says, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take the Levites from among the children of Israel and cleanse them. And thus shalt thou do unto them, to cleanse them, and sprinkle the waters of purification upon them, and let them cause a razor to pass over their flesh, and let them wash their clothes and cleanse themselves. Then let them take a young bullock and its meal offering, fine flour mingled with oil, and another young bullock shall they take for a sin offering. Thou shalt present the Levites before the tent of meeting. All right. And then it goes on, it says, and thou shalt assemble the whole congregation, the children of Israel. Now, what's interesting here is that, one, we are told the Lord spoke to Moses talking about consecrating the Levites among the children of Israel. So I thought we all were supposed to be a holy people. But yet, being a holy people, we have certain status, and some people are set aside a little bit more exclusive. So even though we as a nation of Israel are the chosen of the Most High, because the Most High chose us, we didn't chose him. And it's a good thing that God chose us, because a lot of times our choices is not that great. So the Most High chose us, and not because we were so good, but because of the covenant that he had with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What we find here is that we find water purification. Now, right here in this chapter, we don't really understand and know what the waters of purification are at this time. We learn about it somewhat later when we talk about the red heifer. When we talk about the red heifer, then we learn about waters of purification with the ashes and what they had to do for the burning of the red heifer. But prior to this, when they say waters of purification, it's almost like saying holy waters. What makes the water holy when they talk about the sota? The water become holy, basically, if the man is holy. But then when you talk about the waters of purification, then what makes it the water of purification? It's where we have a description that once the process is made, the water is water of purification. But we don't have a process of what defines holy water. We don't have that process in that. Though, you could discuss it amongst your teachers and stuff like that. Say, what's the difference between holy water and water of purification? Should they both be exceptional? Should they both be okay? They both are approved by God for certain purposes. And then one might have a dual function in that sense. So we move on and talk about now they're shaving, all the hair off their body is shaven. So even, not only the hair on their head, the hair all through their whole entire body of the Levites. So when, and this, a whole tribe that wasn't the son of Aharon. Now we have the priest class, which is Aaron and his sons. There was Nadab, Abihu, who got killed, who died, and when they tried to offer strange fire. They had Eleazar, Ithamar, and then whatever children they had, and beyond that. But prior to that, everybody else is Levites, and also the priest himself is out the same tribe. Moses himself out the same tribe. But what's interesting, I'm gonna go down to the 19th verse in that same chapter, the 8th chapter, and it said, "And I had given the Levites. They are given to Aaron and to his sons from among the children of Israel to do the service of the children of Israel in the tent of meeting, and to make atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel through the children of Israel coming nigh unto the sanctuary." Now, what's interesting in that verse, B'nai Yisrael is mentioned 5 times. 5 times the word B'nai Yisrael, or sons or children of Israel. And we know the Levites was taken in the sense of, instead of the firstborn, and the firstborn was consecrated when the 10th plague hit Egypt. We know that already, and we're given that information in this particular sidra again. And what is interesting is that, as I said in the past, that if you're going to do a service for God, it's something that you had to be taught on a regular basis and grow into it. So, whereas if you are firstborn and you're not a Levite, now I say I'm a firstborn. I'm not a Levite, but I have other sons. All right, so now I got other sons. So I have a firstborn son, but then I got other sons that's not a firstborn. So now, if I have a firstborn son that's and I'm born to spirit, which I'm not, but say I'm a Levite, and or in that Levitical order, then I might know how to do all the offerings and do my part as a Levite properly, and I might teach my firstborn son that, since they're firstborn. But say my secondborn son, he has a firstborn, and even his firstborn might be older than my firstborn son, my grandson. So if my secondborn son had a firstborn son, he might not be as good or accurate or perfect in his observance and commitment and job and service to the Creator. Whereas if you're a Levite, that's all you do. The whole family is involved in it. So that's one advantage And it said it's to save us. So now another thing we could find in looking at this here particular portion about the Levites being chosen is that they're chosen for us, not necessarily they're better than us. They're chosen for us to service us. So that is the purpose, and that's what you read of what the Levites was chosen for. We as a nation of people, we're chosen for a particular service. And those are some of the things we got to bear in mind, that we're not chosen in the sense that we are better than anyone else. We're chosen for a particular job. And amongst those that's chosen, they have those, elite amongst them that's chosen for a much more delicate and sensitive operational job to the service of the Most High. So that's one of the things we pick up from the Levites being chosen instead of the firstborns of Israel. As we go into that same chapter, around the 23rd verse, it talks about the ages of service of the Levites. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "This is that which pertaineth unto the Levites. From 25 years old and upward, they shall go in to perform the service and the work of the tent of meeting. And from the age of 50 years, they shall return from the service of the work, and they shall serve no more, but shall minister with their brethren in the tent of meeting, to keep the charge, that they shall do no manner of service. Thus shalt thou do unto the Levites, touching their charges." So, elders is important, and the Levite, and when we look at this here particular portion here of the Levites, and this will bear a lot of discussion amongst various, congregations and teachers. Do this pertain only to the wilderness, or when we were marching for 40 years in the wilderness, or do it pertain after we got into the land, or and then then it stops, once the temple was erected? So there's a lot of questions, because in the wilderness, we know, as we're going to find out later on, we moved, we traveled from one point to another point. So now to know the Levites had to disassemble and carry the tabernacle and erect it again. Not the nation of Israel. The Levites had to do that. And each Levites, from the three major families, the Kohathites, the Gershonites, and the Merarites, had their own specific job. Now, when they say 25 to 50, and then you might read later on 30 to 50, the harmonize that most viewpoints is that you had a 5-year probation period that really get good in your job before you actually do the job. So you learn it, and you learn it without hands-on, particularly at that time. Before you actually do the job, because each thing was a life and death situation. Especially those from the tribe, from the segment of the Levites called the Kohathites. What we also learn from this here particular portion, that 50 years old, we don't have what you call where you retire and you do nothing in Israel. Some people think, like in a job in this secular world, we retire from the job, so we put on time in, some people 20 years in, 25, 30 plus years in, and then they stop. They say that's it. So now, when we look at from 25 to 25, that's 25 years. And we look at it from 30 to 20, that's 20 years of laborious work that the Levites had. And then the Creator didn't say, "Oh, because you're still in shape, you don't have to retire." You still work out. You're still in excellent condition. Your eyesight is still good. Still got excellent vision, excellent health. So you can still do the job you've been doing. You've been doing it all this time. So you've got to be an expert at it, because I haven't killed you doing all this time. The Creator, then that's enough. That's it for whatever reason. That's enough. You're 50 years and out. It teaches you a valuable lesson. And one of the lessons you learn is that you're supposed to be grooming the next generation, because after you are no longer able to put hands on, you act in a supervision capacity. A nation is doomed to failure if they have no education of their youth. A lot of times, I spoke on it in the past, and I said, what would you rather have if you only had two choices? Would you rather have free education or free health care? And most people that I've spoken with in the past say, I'd rather have free health care. But the actual thing is free education. That's what you need to have. Health care, every time I want free health care, you're already presupposing that I'm not going to be that healthy later on, that I'm going to get sick, that my body's going to break down. So you have all those things that is going on at this particular time. So you're going to have all that's going on. When education, you could avoid a lot of things. And that's what moves a society and a nation forward. So when people in this society, they look at the elders and they get rid of them. In ancient times, the elders was the most important people in the nation. Moses was told to go to the elders and, of the tribes of Israel. And yet we had the princes of the tribe of each house, of the tribe, the head prince of the tribe of each tribe. And you had other princes in the tribe of all the tribes of Israel. But we read where Eleazar, Aaron's son, was called the prince of princes for the tribe of Levi, for the Levites. He was called a prince of princes, but he was not over his father, who was the high priest. So these are some of the things that that we must value the elders. And then also, one thing we must learn too. Some people thinking, they had the conception that, oh, you're not an elder till you hit 70 because you promised 70. And by reason of strength, you might make 80. And I always would say, if you think an elder is only an elder when you can become 70, when God promised us 70, that means his foot is already one on a grave and the other one on a banana field. He's about ready to leave here. That serves very little purpose, especially when we look at not a lot of people live 70. And so it is that if a Levite worked from 30 and had to retire at 50, that's 20 years. And if he's retiring and acting as a supervisor, that means he's an advisor, a counselor. He reached 70, that's another 20 years. So he balanced out that time when we look at it from that perspective. And if he lived longer, then through the grace of God, he became a necessary entity, a necessary person for that community. And so those are some of the things we got to look at. And then we got to make way for the future. You can't make way for the future and be in the way of the future. Some people don't know when to sit down or know when to step to the side. Me, myself, personally, I always look for the next generation to be far superior to me in knowledge and in service. The knowledge is the easy part. To be superior to me in knowledge, that's the easy part. What I would like for everybody that supersede everyone that ever taught them is in holiness and in righteous acts. That's what I look for, you know, and that's what I'm hoping for, and you know, for the future for anybody I share information with, because we're going to be rescued in the end. And just to digress for a moment, we're going to be rescued in the end, not because we earned it, but because of a promise. So when we say those don't return wholly determined in righteousness, when they say wholly determined in righteousness, don't mean that you're righteous. You just want to be there and you're working on it. But I mean, actually, you're righteous because you're determined to be that. And you do everything you can. You know, you can. But you're going to have your ups and your downs, your good and your bad. But your heart is that this is what I want to do. So we got to constantly think about the elders and the sacrifices that they made. Just to digress a little bit, when most of y'all might see this program, it would be before what they considered Juneteenth. And everybody didn't know that, the slaves were supposed to be emancipated. I use that word, emancipated from the plantations. What we must consider is that the battles, the sacrifices that some of our ancestors made, whether we agree with their method or not, but they did it for the next generation, then we should appreciate that and hold them in high esteem for having the guts, the chutzpah, as they say, to be able to say, I'm doing this not for me, but for the future generation. That is a great legacy. So those are some of the things that we learn from the Levites, stepping aside and making room for the next generation. As we go further in this particular thing, I'm not going to speak on it too much. We find in this particular portion, the 9th chapter, it said, "The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the first month of the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Let the children of Israel keep the Passover in its appointed season, in the 14th day of this month at dusk." All right. So you said in the 14th day of this month at dusk. All right. So now we learn a lot of things here when we just read it in this particular literal. And it says, in the 14th day of this month at dusk, you shall keep it in its appointed season, according to all the statutes of it, and according to all the ordinances thereof shall they keep it. All right, so before I get to the 4th verse, when you read that particular portion there, we know that each prince, the tabernacle was erected, at the beginning of on Rosh Chodesh, on the month of the first month, the month of what we call Abib. Some people would say Nisan later on, but that particular month. And the Creator stressing at the erection of the tabernacle that within that day that the people make sure, though they had all this dedication, though they prepared the Kohanim, though you had a tragedy on Rosh Chodesh, that you must keep the Passover. So that means 12 days after the last prince of the tribe had made his offering up to dedicate to the tabernacle. 2 days later, 2 days after that, Bain out of Ayim, between the evenings, that they must offer up and sacrifice the Passover. So and one of the lessons you learn from this, there's quite a few, but I'm going to focus on one or two. One of the lessons you learn from this is that, one, in all this of celebratory fashion. Yehudah got his day. Issachar got his day. Zebulon got his day. Reuben got his day. So everybody is enthused, bringing up, this is my day, a lot of times they had a song, this is the day the Lord had made, let us rejoice in it. Well, yeah, this is the day I get a chance to offer up in a dedication that it's mine, nobody else, mine dedication on behalf of my tribe, and what we learn from it is that everyone offer up his offering on his day. Was it his offering or was it for the tribe? So that's to consider, because it said each prince offer up his offering on that day. But we read what it was, and we read the purpose of it, and it was for the tribe, not for that individual by himself. So those are some of the things, the takeaways that we must consider. And, maybe you might want to discuss that further, but when they're talking, you let you know right then and there, sometimes when we get into a celebratory fashion, we tend to forget some of the most important details of observance. And, and you got to take the time out to remember, though we got the tabernacle, though the Creator giving us, after the sin of the golden calf, that we must remember that He delivered us out of the land of Egypt. That's what the Creator wants us to constantly pay close attention to and remember, that He was a God of deliverance. And those are some of the things we could take away from that. And the fourth version said, and Moses spoke unto the children of Israel that they should keep the Passover, and they kept the Passover in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at dusk, in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So did the children of Israel. But there were certain men who were unclean by the dead body of a man, so they could not keep the Passover on that day. And they came to Moses and before Aaron, and on that day, all right, so, and they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, we are unclean by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we to be kept back, so as not to bring the offering of the Lord in its appointed season among the children of Israel? And Moses said unto them, stay ye, that I may hear what the Lord will command concerning you. Now, it's, it's a lot of commentaries who these two guys were and everything like that, and and so I'm not going to go into that part. You can always discuss those which are your various teachers, but they came on the day of, and they say I can't bring it up. So now there's a couple things to consider. How close did they get to these guys if you're unclean by the dead body? And you're talking to Moses, and you talk to Aaron, the high priest, who's not supposed to get tainted with uncleanliness at no time. So that's something to discuss, just from looking from the actual verbiage of this particular verse. Because it said the day of, they came. And Moses says, stay. He didn't say get away from me. He said, stay. All right. So now it's and that show you that it was so important to them to remember the deliverance that they say, I want to be able to participate and show an act of gratitude to the Most High for what He did for me. In my mind, now, these are the people that left Egypt. These are people that left Egypt. So it's not what He did for my ancestors, but what He done for me at that time. That's how appreciative these individuals were when they came to Moses concerning that matter. I could see, we're talking about, well, about 10 years down, 20 or 50 years down the line, and that question jumps up now. So I'm thinking about my ancestors more so than when I'm thinking about me. But these guys are actually thinking about what God had done for them. And that's novel. And, and they want to be able to participate. So what we have here, and it just says, and the Lord spake unto Moses in the ninth verse, spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you, of your generation, shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be on a journey far off, excuse me, yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord in the second month. On the 14th day at dusk, they shall keep it, they shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it until the morning, nor break a bone thereof. According to all the statutes of the Passover, they shall keep it. All right, so, but the man that is clean and not on a journey, and forbear to keep the Passover, that soul shall be cut off from his people, because he brought not the offering of the Lord in its appointed season. That man shall bear his sin, and if a stranger shall sojourn amongst you, and will keep the Passover unto the Lord, according to the statutes of the Passover, according to the ordinances thereof, so shall he do. Ye shall have one statute both for the stranger and for him that is born in the land. So it's important, and what we have, we have an important thing in the sense that this guy here, got to observe, he got to observe the Passover, and when they do that second Passover, they call it Pesach Sheni, second Passover. You notice it don't say CHOKMAH, so it don't say that you couldn't eat leavening that day or afterwards. But when you actually perform the ritual of the sacrifice itself and offer up the sacrifice, there's no longer, it's not called CHOKMAH, even though you're eating it with unleavened bread, bitter herbs. You can't have regular bread, but you got to have unleavened bread, bitter herbs, and the lamb. You got to eat it, and you got to deal with it that night. They didn't say you had to clean out all your, leavening out your houses on that particular day, because it's not about CHOKMAH. It's about the Passover offering. So out of all the other times of the year, when I spoke at the Unity Shabbat, some of the uniqueness is that Passover, we're told what to eat. Shavuot, we told, Sukkot, we told where to eat. But Shavuot, we eat wherever we want. But the thing is that the Passover is so important that we only get a do-over when it comes to offering up the sacrifice of the Lord for Passover. This should constantly show that attitude of thanks. See, a lot of times we don't have an attitude of gratitude. And this is what this particular portion shares with us. So God gives people another chance to try to stay right with Him. And the only, you find that they kept Passover in the book more than you want to find them reading that they observe other days in the book. Which is like, show you how important it was. And when a person tried to make a return, we always think more so about Yom Teruah, Yom Kippur, I done repented, I done fasted and everything like that. I'm getting a fresh start. So Sukkot, I'm rededicating myself to the Creator. So now I'm good. I'm good in that sense. But when it comes down to those, you don't have a repeat of Yom Teruah or Rosh Hashanah, some people refer to. We don't have a repeat of Yom Kippur. We don't have a repeat of Sukkot or Shavuot. We don't have a repeat of CHOKMAH. We have a repeat of the Pesach sacrifice. So that's important. And even so much so, when God said, I'm Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Therefore, you shall have no other gods before me. So, addressing what I did and what your purpose should be, and who you should have gratitude for. All right, and we're gonna go and skip over here and talk about the clouds. in the 15th verse. And I'm taking a little time because I was told by the host that there'd be some things he had to take care of. So this would be a little bit longer than normal. So bear with me, please. And 15th verse of the 9th chapter said, "And the Lord, and on the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, even the tent of the testimony. And at even there was upon the tabernacle, as it were, the appearance of fire until morning. And so it was always. The cloud covered it, and the appearance of the fire by night. And whenever the cloud was taken up from over the tent, then after that the children of Israel journeyed. And in the place where the cloud abode, there the children of Israel encamped. At the commandments of the Lord, the children of Israel journeyed. And at the commandments of the Lord, they encamped. As long as the cloud abode upon the tabernacle, they remained encamped. And when the cloud tarried upon the tabernacle many days, then the children of Israel kept the charge of the Lord and journeyed not. And sometimes the cloud was a few days upon the tabernacle, according to the commandment of the Lord, they remained in camp. And according to the commandment of the Lord, they journeyed. And sometimes the cloud was from evening until morning. And when the cloud was taken up in the morning, they journeyed. Or if it continued by day and by night, then the cloud was taken up, they journeyed. Whether it were 2 days or a month or a year, that the cloud tarried upon the tabernacle, abiding thereon the children of Israel, abiding thereon the children of Israel remained in camp and journeyed not. But when it was taken up, they journeyed. And at the commandments of the Lord, they encamped. And at the commandments of the Lord, they journeyed. They kept the charge of the Lord at the commandments of the Lord by the hand of Moses. I read that all the way through because that's very important here, and to understand how we dwelt and moved about in the 40 years. A lot of times people say the children of Israel, those that really don't get into the book extensively and understand the concept or read this particular portion and pay attention to the little details here. Because sometimes when you're young, you read real fast and you say, okay, cloud up, we go. Cloud in, we go. We stop. That's it. But and we say, well, we wandered in the wilderness for 40 years and 40 nights. 40 years rather, in the wilderness. Wandering is a bad term. And we find out it's a bad term simply because it told you that we travel at the command of God and we settle and sojourn in a spot at the command of God. And watching the cloud or by day or the pillar of fire by night. Sometimes we travel in the day, sometimes we travel at night. Sometimes we might be in a spot for 2 days, sometimes we might be in a spot for 2 weeks or a month or a year. Now, what we find here also in this particular portion, that when we talk about the dedication of the tabernacle, and I want to focus on this because I don't want people to miss certain timelines and charts. We left Egypt to go to Mount Sinai. We are still at Mount Sinai almost a year before we get ready to make a move. Almost a year. Can you imagine that? That we left Egypt and we ain't got no further than that mountain for almost a year. Can you imagine how much stuff went on? The complaints about water, the tree going in the water, the complaints about food, this and that and the other, bread. We had all these different complaints going on. The golden calf, all kind of stuff going on. So, and yet, where did we go? No further from Egypt than Mount Sinai for almost a year. That's something to consider and think about, that we stayed that long in that one little area. And what we find also is, as we go further into the chapter, I'm just going to move on just a little bit. the Lord, in the 10th chapter, it says, the Lord had spoken to Moses, saying, make thee 2 trumpets of silver, of beaten works, shalt thou make them, and they shall be unto thee for the calling of the congregation, and for causing the camps to set forward. And when you blow with them, all the congregation shall gather themselves unto thee at the door of the tent of meeting. And if thou blow with but one, then the princes of the heads of the thousands of Israel shall gather themselves unto thee. When we blow an alarm, the camp that lie on the east side shall take their journey. And when ye blow an alarm the second time, the camp that lie on the south shall set forward. Right. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys. But when the assembly up is to be gathered together, ye shall blow. But ye shall not blow an alarm. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for a statute forever throughout your generations. And when you go to war in your land against the adversary that oppresses you, then ye shall sound an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies. Also in the day of your gladness, and in your appointed seasons, and in your new moons, ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over your sacrifices of your peace offerings. And they shall be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. I read that all the way out to bring out this point here before I go forward. And I'm going to skip on through because I think I'm being a little bit loquacious at this time. What we have here is that the 2 silver trumpets that's being made, they're made of one piece, and we in the design of it. They have many functions, and then you had to know when it's an alarm and when it's just a regular calling, and you got to be astute enough to know when you hear one trumpet as opposed to 2. So the sound had to be subtly different, yet the trumpets are made the exact same. So those are some things you might want to ponder. What kind of sound? We know we get around Yom Teruah, what most people say Rosh Hashanah, and they blow the shofar, and they got these different sounds, Tekiah, Teruah, Shabarim. That's the terms they use for it, in rabbinic literature. And on Yom Teruah, they blow basically 100 blasts. Yom Kippur about basically 100 blasts, the shofar. But the way the trumpets were, the shofar anybody can blow, the ram horn anybody can blow. But the silver trumpets only the priest could blow, and that shows that they had to be in a close proximity at the time. So when they had their feast or their new moons, was everybody in the proximity of when they hear those particular horns blown? Something to discuss, because it was years before we had the temple erected, and the tabernacle might stay over here for a while. It might go over here for a while. It might be in Gibeon, might be in Shiloh, might be someplace else. So the tabernacle moved several times in the course of a period of time before it actually was disassembled, and actually they built the temple itself, Beit HaMikdash. So those are, so you got to be aware of those particular times. All right. Now, and then it says near the end of that particular chapter, that and it came to pass the second year in the second month on the 20th day of the month that the cloud was taken up. So this is important. The reason I just read that only to show this is when we made our first journey from Mount Sinai. That's why I wanted us to read that part. Before that particular period of time, we wasn't journeying no further. After we got to Mount Sinai, we stayed there for a period of time. We stayed there for a period of time, almost a year. And we got the exact time when we actually make our first movement away from Mount Sinai. So now we have a sigil later on. We call it Behar in the mountain, at a mountain. I mean, we have a sigil, well, and I think it was might have made a mistake on that, but anyway, when you say you've been at this mountain, you dwell here in this mountain long enough. So, what point in time are they talking about? And then we know we actually made a circuit to different places. And, in the book of Deuteronomy, it talks about 48 different spots, but we don't know how long and all those different spots. The closest we got an idea of how long we dwelt in any spot was right here. So we mentioned about 48 different stages, I must say, different stages and spots that the children of Israel traveled. But we only know how long we stayed at Mount Sinai consecutively, close, as opposed to all the spots we was at. All right, so we're going to skip on over to the 29th verse of the 10th chapter. And it said, Moses said to Hobab, the son of Ruel, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, we are journeying unto the place of which the Lord said, I will give it you. Come thou with us, and we will do thee good. For the Lord has spoken good concerning Israel. And he said unto him, I will not go, but I will depart to my own land and to my kindred. And he said, leave us not, I pray thee, for as much as thou knowest how we are to a camp in the wilderness, and thou shalt be to us instead of eyes. And it shall be, if thou go with us, yea, it shall be that what good soever the Lord shall do unto us, the same will we do unto thee. Now, when you read that very carefully, whatever the good the Lord would do to us, we would do to you. I would say, I want God to do something for me just like He's doing for you. That's it. That's what I would say. The son, I love you, but the way you worded that is kind of funny. It's kind of strange, because God gonna do something for you directly, but I got to depend on you to do something for me. So, and then if God's gonna do something for you, and He's leading you, and you already told that, we're not lost. We're following this cloud. God is leaving us wherever the cloud goes, that's where we go. And we move out accordingly, and we move out in an orderly fashion. Then I need to understand that why am I looked upon by you as being eyes for you and for the rest of the people? When you got the Creator, what makes me so special that you need me to travel with you? Those are some of the things to consider. Because if you got God, what you need me for? And my eyes are no better than God. And God's the one who brought you to this spot. So it's a lot of things to consider and talk about that particular verbiage that Moses brings to, his father-in-law. And also gives a little bit more of identity, because, I'm aware of the different commentaries about, Jethro might have been it wasn't a Midianite. He might have been Ethiopian and all that kind of stuff, and just happened to be a priest of Midian, but not Midian himself. But from this particular portion here, you read, the name changed. Jethro had many names and stuff like that, and it says in Moses' father-in-law that he said, I want to go with my people. And it addressed him as a Midianite here. So they're just some of the things to consider as you go forward. For those that would think, as we come to this next portion, and before we close out this portion, I want to bring out this point, because they're going to surface again the statement that his brother and sister make concerning it. So I'm just going to go straight to that particular area here and bring out Oh, two more, a couple more facts I'd like to bring before we get to that. I don't want to omit certain things. All right, I'm gonna skip on down. We know we got manna. They talk about manna in this particular chapter, so I'm gonna pass that, and I'm gonna pick it up at the 11th chapter, 16th verse. All right. No, no, no. The people before me. Have I conceived all these people? Have I brought them forth, that thou shouldst say unto me, carry them in my bosom, as a nursing father carried a suckling child, unto the land which thou didst swear unto their fathers? Whence should I have flesh to give unto this people? All right. Moses, the people already complained about the manna. They don't want the manna already. So now since they don't want the manna, I mean they tired of it. Some people. And what is strange about that is that we find here in this particular portion that the people has a lack of gratitude, and they want meat. All right. So now, and they talk about they say, well, we ate freely the leeks, the onions, and the garlic in Egypt. If Pharaoh wouldn't give you no straw, he wouldn't give you straw, something you can't digest freely. You had to try to make it the best way you can. How can you say you ate so free? And what do that mean? So those are some things to consider there. And I'm just going to fast forward just a little bit. And the manner was is it was better than anything you could come up with. And so in the 16th verse, Moses is complaining because sometimes people, we wear out our leaders, we wear them out. They become, you burden them. And a good leader got to really, really trust in God. Even though he's doing everything for the people, sometimes the people don't see that he's working for their good. That's a good leader, I'm saying. And sometimes a leader got to be strong enough to say no to the people. But Moses complaining because now they finally got to him. They had a number of problems. Everything he tried to do for them, there's always a complaint coming up, from periodically. Now, what we find here is that the 16th verse, and the Lord said unto Moses, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them unto the tent of meeting, that they may stand there with thee. And I will come down and speak with thee, and there I will take of the spirit which is upon thee, and will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone. All right. And say thou unto the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and ye shall eat flesh. For ye have wept in the ears of the Lord, saying, would that we were given flesh to eat, for it is well with us in Egypt. Wherefore the Lord will give you flesh, and ye shall eat. And you shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but a whole month, until it come out of your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that ye have rejected the Lord who is among you, and have troubled him with weeping and saying, why now came we forth out of Egypt? That's a serious situation right there. All right, so those are some of the things we got to look at. That the 70 elders, we know later on that Moses broke down. The Creator said what the 70 elders' purpose was: to bear the burden, not to be so much, and that's that. And so to say, look, I hurt because the people I'm leading is hurting. Moses was hurting because the people that he's leading was hurting. So he felt their pain. And the Creator said, all right, I'm gonna give you 70 people to feel that same kind of pain that you got, and they're gonna be worried just as much as you be worried concerning the people. Then we read about these other two guys, Eldad and Medad. You know, so if you figure if it's 70 elders and the 12 tribes, you do the math. Two tribes gonna be short. Elders. 6 tribes. Sometimes 6. They said, well, why 7? Of course, you see, so they prophesied. We know who the 70 were, but we know who the 2 were. Moses and other. So that's one of the things I bring up in that's that they was given quail. So, but they asked for it, they really didn't, you know, they want it, but they didn't really like it at the end. Now you got plenty of cattle. They left out with their cattle. Plenty of cattle. And Moses said, you know, where we gonna get all this meat from? But they have cattle with them. The Creator is so magnanimous that he say, no, I'm gonna give you something, some flesh that I know you don't have. You don't have no fowl in that flock. You ain't coming with no fowl, no bunch of fowl. All right. Oh, you guys, you know, lamb, bullocks, goats, you know, sheep. That's what you got. But you don't have no fowl. That's what we say, you know, yard bird, chicken. Yeah, you don't have all that. So the Creator give you something, and he give you most the leanest bird, which is a quail. That's one of the leanest birds that's healthy. But he gave us something that you know that the Creator don't have to take from you to satisfy you. He can create something different outside of you and satisfy you, and you still, you know, have an act of ingratitude because he give you such an abundance of it. Because first of all, the way we ask for it. Not that the Creator can prepare a table for us in the wilderness. So in the last part of when we going to the last part of this is in 12th chapter, and it says, and Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married. For he had married a Cushite woman, and they said, have the Lord indeed spoken only with Moses? Have he not spoken? And the Lord heard. Now, since we're going to hear anything, that's one. But he told that particular answer. And then, that Miriam, and then in the Hebrew, which is really interesting, I'm just going to read the word that they use in Hebrew. And they use the word Wataber, Wataber, Miriam, Haron. And that's in the singular, that's not in the plural. So it should have been in the plural if they both were speaking. But why is it the word in the singular? Now, sometimes the singular itself could be, they was on one accord, knitting themselves together as one individual, or she talked and Aaron kept quiet. So you can look at it from both perspectives. So you might want to discuss that because that word is unusual there, because if they both spoke against Moses, then why they use that verb there, which is only in the singular instead of the plural. So those are one of the things we know. And then when the God called him out and talk about Moses' qualities, most trusted in all his house, then Miriam got cursed with leprosy, what we call leprosy, zara'at, which we call leprosy. And hence, you get the shortest prayer, in there, in the history of Moses. Moses, I guess, is dedicated with the longest prayer, and he got the shortest prayer here. And when he called him out, that's one of the let me just move down this one. All right. All right. And the ninth verse is, and the anger of the Lord kindled against them. All right, against them, both of them. And he departed. And when the cloud was removed from over the tent, behold, Miriam was leprous as white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, O my Lord, lay not, I pray thee, sin upon us, for that we have done foolishly, and for that we have sinned. Let her not, I pray thee, be as one dead, and of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. She must have looked like a sight. She was a serious sight at that time. And Moses cried unto the Lord and said, heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. Now, what those are, without me going back into the Hebrew part of that, you know what I mean? But he gives a command. It's in the imperative. When you tell a healer, the Father, that's a song they say too. It's a command to God, but yet you're saying please. So is it a command or is it please? So when you look at that shortest prayer that's mentioned in the book, it's a command, it's imperative. I want this done. Please. Desperation make you say some things. You know what I mean? And then one done later, and the Creator had to appease them and said, if all the only spit in her face, we should not be ashamed for 7 days. Put it out. And he said, well, how come Aaron didn't get hit with it? If they co-current. So in this first time you find out that preceding the man in scriptures with words. But we will go into Psalm 68. That's something to discuss just a little bit. And the camp they didn't move until Mary was healed for the 7 days after camp. So and Sarah is something that we ain't got no herb or salve to put on that. You just got to hope and see God say, okay, that's long enough. Ain't that something? That's a serious kind of affliction that when people see it, and what's even deadly is that the Kohen see it and recognize it and can't do nothing for you except hope God be entreated concerning you. That's all you can do. All right, so we're going to 68 Psalm. If you got that, Chief, we can pick it up there.
We are going to the 68th Psalm, Psalm 68.
All right, and before we get there, those that we read Zechariah, it's good to read Zechariah too, in reference to the relationship of the menorah, the candlesticks, and you read about Satan. The first time you hear about a Satan and the torah, but it means an adversary or accuser in that sense. So I'll just point that out as we go forward, and I'm not going to touch on it now. I'll just spend a little time on the rest of the stuff. So you have the 68. We can start beginning of 68.
Psalm 68, verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
For the leader, a psalm of David, a song. Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered. Let them that hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melteth before the fire, so let the wicked perish at the presence of God. But let the righteous...
But yeah, I can go for it. Ain't that particular when they move out, said, Kumar, Adonai, and rise up, rise up, oh Lord, that's a song, a prayer that they sing at every Torah, when they bring out the Torah, stuff like that. Get ready to bring out the Torah. They say that prayer in most traditional synagogues and stuff like that. Those that follow the rabbinic approach, and say, let your enemies be scattered. Then that's another prayer, which is a lot of important prayers that's used in the prayer book. And also, when we read, relationship to the Psalm here, that and they know that Moses, when he lift up the ark, you know, and then he implored God to scatter, let your enemies and adversaries be scattered. And then when he rested, he said, "Return, O Lord," right? Because when he rested, he went to God to return back. That's from that same Sidra, Behu that we say that they say in the prayer. So just in case, I know I didn't touch on it today, but read it. But when you go back over it, you can look at that and commit to memory and understand where some of the prayers that people may say in the prayer books, where that come from. All right. So let's continue on reading the verse.
Verse 4. But let the righteous be glad, let them exult before God, yea, let them rejoice with gladness.
Uh-huh.
Sing unto God, sing praises to his name. Extol him that rideth upon the skies, whose name is Jehovah, and exult ye before him.
Uh-huh.
A father of the fatherless, and a judge of the widows, is God in his
It's
holy
God.
habitation. Is God in his holy habitation. God maketh the...
All right, hold right there. Yeah. What we have here. All right. We, when we look at that as the orphan and widow, that's the nation of Israel as a whole. And when we was in Egypt, when we was down there, and they remember the pious patriarchs, he told Abraham that he gonna look out for their children, and judge that nation. So in our way of life, in our law, the most oppressed people in society is the widow and the fatherless and the stranger. So we was treated in hard conditions as like a widow, like a stranger, you know, and like I have a father, because he said Israel's my son, even my firstborn. Tell Pharaoh that he don't understand that. All right. Also, that we was married unto God. He was in a strong relationship. Also, that we also is like us, we're strangers there, and so therefore it's almost like if my son is enslaved, it's like he don't have a father. So all this we find from the psalm. But go ahead and continue.
Verse 7. God maketh the solitary to dwell in a house. He bringeth out the prisoners into prosperity.
Hold
The
on, and who that sound like? Who that sound like? That sound like Joseph. It doesn't sound like Joseph. He in jail. Next thing you know, he running things. He in charge of things. He never thought it happened that way. Go ahead. 8.
The rebellious dwell but in a parched land. Verse 8. O God, when
Uh-huh.
thou wentest forth before thy people, when thou didst march through the wilderness, Selah, the earth trembled, the heavens also dropped at the presence of God. Even Yon Sinai trembled at the presence of God, the God of Yisrael.
Okay, all right there. That's talking about that's giving you the revelation of Mount Sinai when we was at the all highest. Now you can say, well, why they talk about Sinai so much? Sinai is not one of the great mountains. Other mountains have better height, range, trees, landscaping. Why that little bitty mountain right there? But God takes the least. And if God's in heaven, why he had to come so low? And yet brought us up so high. So this is what so when we read this psalm, we're gonna go through a little bit through thinking about the revelations in reference to Sinai and other things and redemption. Continue.
It reads, verse 10, a bounteous rain didst thou pour down. O God, when thine inheritance was weary, thou didst confirm it. Thy
Uh-huh.
flock settled therein. Thou didst prepare in thy goodness for the poor, O God.
Uh-huh.
The
Continue.
Lord giveth the word. The women that proclaim the tidings are a great host.
Uh-huh.
Kings of armies
Kings of
flee, they flee. and she that tarrieth at home divineth the spoil. When
Right,
she
it's
lie,
for that.
when she lie among the sheepfolds, the wings of the dove are covered with silver, and her pinions with the shimmer of gold. When the Almighty
That means
scat,
the nation. That means right there. Yeah. So it represent. We look like a dove in white. No, I mean, but it's and better, more greater than white is that the silver will glimmer more than the white of the dove. So they're saying how precious that the nation of Israel is, because we're not looked upon as being the eagle. We come out on eagle's wings, but we actually like the dove when it comes down to compared to other nations. And a dove is a bird that really don't defend themselves when it's attacked by other birds. All right, continue.
verse 15, when the Almighty scattereth kings therein, it snoweth in Salmon. A mountain of God is the mountain of Bashan, a mountain of peaks is the mountain of Bashan. Why look ye askance, ye mountains of peaks, at the mount which God had desired for his abode? Yea, Jehovah will dwell therein forever. The chariots of God are myriads, even thousands upon thousands. Jehovah is among them as in Sinai in holiness. Thou hast ascended on high, thou hast led captivity captive, thou hast received gifts among men, yea, among the rebellious also, that Jehovah God might dwell there. Blessed be the Lord, day by day he beareth our burden, even the God who is our salvation, Salah.
Hold it right there. So it gives us a thing about the Creator coming down and doing battle for us and everything of that nature. Because with the revelation of Sinai, we hear it with the thunder and the lightning and noise of the trumpet and the mountains smoking, and what I mean, we got all these different elements going on there, and the earth quaking and trembling. The Creator, why the Creator, he don't need a chariot. So now, why he comes down upon a chariot? So it exhibits certain majesty. And this is the thing, you know how royal processions were done in ancient times amongst the people that they dwelt among. That you have a strong retinue going before you. And so, like some people will say, like the big stage show, with actual stuff on the stage. But go ahead, continue. Bashan also. Bashan is the territory with Ephraim. I mean, not Ephraim. Excuse me. Esau. I meant to say Esau. So go ahead, continue.
Verse 21, God is unto us a God of deliverances, and unto God the Lord belong the issues of death. Surely God will smite through the head of his enemies, the hairy scalp of him that goeth about in his guiltiness.
All right, they're talking about Esau. You know what I mean? Birds come out red and hairy all over, like a hairy garment. So it's talking about it looking like Esau, because when the baby come, they come head first. They come feet first is a problem. You know, head first. And so it's like a simile to Esau himself coming forth, and God didn't have so much of a love for that. All right, but continue.
Verse 23, the Lord said, I will bring back from Bashan, I will bring them back from the depths of the sea, that thy foot may wade through blood, that the tongue of thy dogs may have its portion from thine enemies. They see thy goings, O God, even the goings of my God, my King in holiness. The singers go before the minstrels, follow after, in the midst of damsels playing upon timbrels. Bless ye God in full assemblies, even the Lord, ye that are from the fountain of Israel.
Hold it right there. Stop before we go further. That is the song at the sea, the Yam Suf. You know, Moses said, then Moses sang this song. And then after that, who come up with cymbals? Who come up with dancing? The same person that might have been Sarai led the women at the time. So you have a lot of correlation between this psalm and the Sidra. So, and you see a lot of correlation between this and the Exodus. You see a lot of correlation with this and the revelation of Mount Sinai. But I'm just going to speed it through a little bit. Let's see if we can finish this out.
It reads, verse 28. There is Benjamin the youngest ruling them, the princess of Judah their counsel, the princess of Zebulun, the princess of Naphtali. Thy God has commanded thy strength. Be strong, O God, thou that hast wrought for us. Out of thy temple at Jerusalem, whither kings shall bring presents unto thee. Rebuke the wild beasts of the reeds, the multitude of the bulls, with the calves of the peoples, everyone submitting himself with pieces of silver. Ye have scattered the peoples that delight in war. Nobles shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall hasten to stretch out her hands unto God.
In other words, everybody goes to learn eventually. Say, look, I got to serve this God, but this God he's tougher than I thought. You know, and it's talking about that. You know, we talk about the reeds and stuff like that. You know, that's where we come in Yom Suf. You know, we come through the sea of reeds. But we got a few more verses here.
It reads,
33.
33. Sing unto God, ye kingdoms of the earth. O sing praises unto the Lord, Selah. To him that rideth upon the heavens of heavens, which are of old, he uttereth his voice, a mighty voice. Ascribe ye strength unto God. His majesty is over Israel, and his strength is in the skies. Awful is God out of thy holy places. The God of Yisrael, he giveth strength and power unto the people. Blessed be God. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. That's a little long psalm there, but I didn't do justice enough. I didn't do enough justice to that psalm, so people need to go back over it, and read it, and see some of the gratitude and deliverance that God did for us in the past. And we didn't earn it, and we didn't deserve it, but God gave us the victory and delivered us because of His name's sake. So this is what we find out in reference to that. So when we go back over to, like say, Beholach De'akah, pick up the lessons that we can learn from that. Zechariah, 2 and 14, 4 and 7, pick up the lessons we can learn from that, and also discuss the lessons from Psalm 68. So I hope you got something of what I said. Any mistakes from my own, I said Shalom Aleichem in the early Shabbat Shalom. Sorry for keeping you so long. And any comments, leave it in the chat. Any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Hallelujah. Torah by Nasik. Thanking the Most High God for your life. And thanking all of you for tuning in. I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth be with you all. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.